Hello everyone, welcome, hi, how are you? Welcome to another video where I show off lots of lovely vintage goodies that I found in charity shops. Has been a little while since I've done one of these videos. Basically what happened is I filmed one, I did all the editing on it, and then my computer decided to delete it before I uploaded it, and I threw a big old hissy fit about it. So yeah, it still annoys me. Anyway, here I am. I've got lots of dresses to show you, and this is just a small portion of what I've bought just this year, because the greatest thing that has ever happened to me at the start of this year. So there I was at one of my favourite charity shops, picking up a couple of bits like I usually do, and one of the girls that works there came up to me. She's like, "You need to come with me. You're going to go into the back room and look through all the vintage that we've got. There's a dress you have to have. We've got loads of vintage and you need to come into the back and just take what you want." And I was like, yes to that. I will go into your creepy, ominous back room full of like flooded buckets and all collapsing and everything. Yes, I think I will do that. So I went into their back room and it was just like rails and rails of vintage, and I just picked up what I wanted, and they did like £10 a dress for me, which was amazing. And that was just a portion of the vintage that they had coming in. Everything else still was waiting to be like cleaned and sorted, etc. So over the past couple of months there's just been like a continuous steady stream of good vintage. So it's kind of hard to show you all because there's kind of a lot. So I've kind of separated it out. This is a lot of the dresses that I bought on that first day, and I've kind of separated it out into, these are like the long dresses. So these are mostly maxi, a couple of like ankle length ones, just because that seemed easiest, and I think this is where some of the best bits are, because even in just that initial haul I found some pieces by people that I've always wanted, some really great like features. You know, I love a good unusual feature on a dress. So yeah, these are the long ones. Enjoy. They're mostly 60s and 70s, a bit of 50s. Let's have some fun. So these all came from Emmaus, who are a charity. I think they're just East Anglia. I should have googled them first to double check, but they are like a homelessness charity, and they have a few shops around town, and because I'm always in there buying too much, they sort of know who I am. So they let me rifle through all their goodies before I adjusted. Sorry about it. So I'll stop waffling and I'll stop saying so, and we'll just dive in to my heaving great heap of dresses. So first up, I guess I'll show you the one that the girl was like, "You need this dress," because she was right. I do need this dress. I do. This is a 1970s maxi dress in olive green, but hello, look at the sleeves. We have a lovely Marabou trim. This is like super like slinky, silky fabric. It's pretty like simply cut. It's got that kind of like Grecian 70s style, but then the sleeves are where it's at, let's face it. I also really love the colour of this. It's like a really nice olive green. It must have been worn a lot because the label is so well worn that it's basically impossible to make out. I think I did manage to read it at one point. John Mark's London, that was it, by Anne Tyrrell. And I did Google, I couldn't really find too much about them, but it's certainly, I can imagine it would have been expensive in its day because it's got a little bit extra to it, and it fits perfectly, literally perfectly. It is that sort of fabric that literally shows off every single bit of your body, which is, you know, always flattering, but it does fit perfectly. And come on, I had to have the Marabou feather dress. So that was dress number one, 1970s flowing, beautiful Marabou feather maxi dress. Sticking with green, we have another dress that I bought on that first day. So this was again just £10. This is the oldest one I've got today, I believe. This is 1950s, and this one is from the very fancy, very bougie Harrods of London, and actually is in that colour now that I think of it. Harrods green, the Harrods dress. This is a really beautiful 1950s evening gown. I feel like this one was difficult for me to do justice showing you because A, it badly needs a steam, B, I think it needs a little bit of love just sorting out all this bit. It's like ruched, and I think it just needs rebooshing and ruching, if you know what I mean. It's also like asymmetrical, so it sits like on one shoulder and has one shoulder off, which would look really beautiful, but this one is a little bit too big for me, just like a tiny bit. Don't quite have the boobs to fill it, so that like asymmetrical moment just kind of looks like it's falling off me, where it's not. It's kind of designed to like sit with a slightly asymmetrical frame. I was googling sort of 50s Harris dresses, and I did see this kind of asymmetric design on some others, so it must have been kind of a thing that they were doing at the time. It doesn't have any other design labels in, so I think it was just like their in-house brand at the time. Don't know if anybody knows, let me know. But it's this kind of like Grecian, very like draped fabric. Like I said, it's got this like asymmetrical detail to the neckline, and the rest of the neckline is kind of, again, you probably won't be able to see it very well, but it's like bunched up fabric going into these gathered sleeves. So it's potential to be really, really beautiful and lovely. Like, you could definitely have a Grace Kelly moment in this. Yeah, it doesn't quite fit me, so it's not quite doing it justice. But use your imagination. Imagine I'm Grace Kelly and I'm like floating around in some silks. That's the vibe. But yes, very beautiful. Again, just £10 for a lovely bit of 1950s kind of British style couture. This would have been so hellishly expensive for the lady that originally bought it. But yes, very beautiful. Another green, beautiful, lovely evening dress from Harrods. Okay, so we might as well stick with the bougie. And this next dress is from one of the brands that I've always coveted for my vintage collection, but never really been able to afford, because like at one point it got really crazy and all the dresses were like hundreds of pounds. They have come down a bit, but still, I'm not spending lots of money on dresses, let's be honest. I do love my vintage clothes, but the £10 mark is usually more where I'm at. But this is a very lovely dress by the very wonderful Farron, who, if you don't know, was British designer during mainly the 60s, 70s, and they're one of the people that are credited at the beginning of the 60s of kind of revolutionising women's fashion. They were one of the first people doing what they call mini skirts, alongside like Mary Quant and things. They were that kind of era. Google it, there's lots of lovely like 60s styling, and at the time they were really revolutionary, but they're kind of been forgotten in a way that kind of Mary Quant and people have kind of stayed in the public consciousness. Farron kind of quietly faded, but they were super revolutionary at their time. The actual design was John Bates, but Farron sounded more French and fancy. So this was the very first dress that I ever managed to lay my hands on by them, and it fits perfectly, which we love. This is a gold brocade with red velvet. It is like a column dress, so it comes down on me, it's about the ankles. I have seen versions of this dress in black. The red version seems to have been slightly less common. I wonder, I do think there's possibly originally like a belt or a waistband, because similar dresses from this kind of, there must have been a range of them, have a belt, but this one doesn't. If anybody knows what year exactly these came out, let me know, because if you search for Farron gold brocade, quite a few of these do come up, but I can't find any definitive information of when exactly they were. But yeah, this was again just £10, and I was so excited to finally have a dress by Mum's Designs I love. That one was in the very first, when I said I went into their like back rooms to have a rummage. But what did you know? A couple of weeks later I went into their shop, and hanging up just right in the front of the vintage section was another lovely Farron dress, and this one's even fancier, I think. So this one has got its little label again. This is crochet Edwardian style with the best sleeves ever. It's just like a sheer crepe fabric, then crochet over the bodice and down onto the arms and at the tight sleeves. This is like Edwardian 1970s perfection. Again, I don't know exactly when this one came out. If anybody has any information about it, you can get this dress in a few different colours. I've seen it in like cream and like orangey colours. I have seen at least one other person on like Instagram with it in the burgundy. So it's clearly a popular one, but again I can't find much information about when it came out. So if anybody is an ardent Jean Farron collector, or just knows a bit more about them, or has seen somebody that's got one that had a bit of information, let me know. But how amazing are the sleeves? You kind of have to see it on to appreciate the sheer fantasticness of the sleeves. This one I did buy it later, it was £15 for this one, which is still an outrageous bargain, let's be honest. This one though, sadly, is a little bit small, tiny bit. I reckon if I had a friend who could do the zip up, then it would go up, but it's a bit tight for me to do it by myself. But come on, it's like the best dress ever. And you know, maybe one day I'll have a friend that can do up the zip, so it'll be fun. It did also have a rip in this bottom lace when I bought it. Clearly somebody like stood on it and it had ripped, but I sewed it up, and to the point where I can't actually find where the rip was anymore. So that's pretty good going. Oh, I did a really good job. I have no idea where the rip was. It was quite a big rip, to be fair, but it was really obvious that somebody stood on it. Just the crochet like torn along the line, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's fine now. There we go. £15 for a beautiful burgundy confection from a really fantastic British designer. So yeah, I went from having no dresses by a designer to having 2 within the space of like 2 weeks. Fantastic. Sticking with the bougie, but like on a completely different end of the spectrum, and you've got to use your imagination. Something a bit more unusual, super fun, is this kind of crazy like beach cover-up caftan from, again, like the 60s, maybe early 70s. It's literally like just a big pleated muumuu. But what's fun with this one is the label on it, because this is actually from Honolulu. Sun Fashions of Hawaii, Honolulu. And so I can just imagine some fancy lady, you know, do you know how expensive it would have been to go to Hawaii back? I mean, it's expensive now, but back in the day, 60s, 70s, you had to be a fancy family doing really well to be able to do that. So this feels like it's never been worn as well, so I can just picture the lady going. She's got her big hair, she's got her big earrings, her husband's worked really hard, they're going off to Hawaii for a vacation. They're so fancy, everybody they know is jealous. They get to Hawaii, and this is the dress that woman chooses to buy to bring back. She wears it in Hawaii, she thinks she's so chic, she got her big earrings, her big sunglasses, she's loving life. She gets back to England and realises that England is grey and miserable, there's not a swimming pool in sight. She gently folds it up, puts it in a box, and never wears it again. But she keeps it as a reminder of that fancy trip to Hawaii. Now that might be me thinking too much, but isn't it more fun that way? So yeah, this is just like super basic, but the quality of it is really good. It's this really, really thick cotton, and it's all pleated. So this would have actually taken a really long time to make, because you'd have had to have ironed in these pleats, probably by hand, to be honest. So it's all like the whole fabric's been like concertinaed, then pulled out to make this like bat wing shape. So yeah, imagine like heels, massive hat, massive glasses, massive earrings, massive hair. That's the vibe, I feel like. So yeah, that was another one that was just £10, and I just bought it for the romantic tale in my head. But maybe one day I'll be the fancy lady in Hawaii, and day will come again. Who knows? This blue confection, this is another 1960s, 1970s maxi dress. There's a little bit of a theme going on here, don't know if you noticed. This one, I feel like this is not showing up on camera as beautifully as it does in person. This is like a very Grecian draped floating maxi dress. It has the most amazing, are they bat sleeves? They're kind of, it's like half bat sleeve, half cape. It comes from actually the bust, all the fabric's like gathered on the bust, and then it comes over the shoulder and it's open in the back, so it just like floats out while you're walking. So it's kind of half cape, half sleeve, who knows. Then on the bust it's also got this really pretty like plaited fabric detailing, just to make like an empire waistline. To say this is probably one of the most comfortable dresses that I own. I end up just wearing it around, just floating around my flat, because it's so super comfy, and it's in this really pretty blue and purple flowers. I feel like it's more flattering in person than it's coming up on camera. because it's just like coming up as a bit of a blue blob. But it's not a blob, I swear, it's like a floaty confection of polyester. And if that doesn't describe the 70s, I don't know what does. So, beautiful blue floaty. More kind of blue floaty polyester. This is, I think this was Marabou Couture. Yeah, this is a little, again, late 60s, early 70s maxi dress. This is another kind of empire lined one. This is by a company called Marabou Couture, who I actually find quite a lot of stuff by them. I've got a few other dresses by them as well. So they must have been popular and relatively affordable. They have like a London Mayfair address on them, but I find their clothes quite often outside of London, so I feel like they must have had like a mail order thing going on. A very 60s print is another empire line, and I don't know if you'll be able to see very well, but what makes this one extra pretty is that the fabric is kind of flat on the front and then it starts to like gather at the side of the hip, and that just gives it a slightly more flattering fall. This one's got long sleeves with little like button up cuffs, and it's just really quite like a simple summery dress. Again, this could be your big hair, big earrings moment, or it's just, you know, easy to throw on these types of dresses. So pretty 60s kind of psychedelic florals, tropical vibes. Couldn't resist. Well, I guess we should look at the big boy, big peachy boy. This is a ginormous 70s dress. This is like Peaches and Cream Barbie meets Fanny Craddock, if that makes sense to anybody. This is an absolutely giant long dress with some fantastic sleeve action again. Do you know I love a good sleeve? Again, we've got some like detailing on the hip so that just accentuates the fall down the back and into the massive long train that we have. I do wonder if this was maybe somebody's wedding dress that they've dyed, but the colouring is super even across the whole thing, so I'm not sure. But the like shape and size of it is pretty extra, so that's the only thing that makes me think maybe it was originally white and it got dyed. But yeah, you can't, it's very evenly coloured, which would be unusual if it was home dyed, but hey ho. We've got this very Edwardian lace design, like I said, massive sleeves, lace that goes down in like tiers along the skirt, and then a massive whacking great train. Like I say, it's very, we've got that Edwardian vibe going on throughout a lot of the dresses that I've got here today, because they're all in that kind of late 60s, early 70s vein. But yeah, I really like the sleeves on this one. So that is massive 1970s peach confection. I feel like we've got lots of like cake colours going on, like not natural cake colours, like overly saturated 70s cooking book cake colours, if that means anything to anyone. Okay, just a couple more to go for today's show and tell. Let's go for this one. This one I feel like is like not like the others. This one just doesn't quite fit with the others that I'm showing today, but I really liked it, so I wanted to share it to you. Anyway, this one I don't really know exactly how old it is. It's kind of ambiguous. It could have been made at any point within a like 30-year span, but it's this really beautiful silken dress. It's this like off-white peachy creamy colour, really heavy satin, with then like a sheer crepe silk neckline, frill and sleeves with little like cuffs at the end. It's like super heavy, really beautiful silk that you can just feel, you know when you've got like good silk that's just kind of weighty but like soft at the same time? That's what we've got going on here. This is one that's been handmade by somebody, so makes it a bit more difficult to kind of tell when it was made. Also looks like it's got a more modern zip in than it did originally, which again makes it more difficult. So it might have been that originally there were buttons up the back and then somebody's put a zip in. That's what happens quite often. But yeah, so I'm not really sure. It could easily be like a 1940s wedding dress, or it could be like a 70s thing. I don't know. It's a bit of a funny fit. It fits me, it does up and everything. But I don't know what height this person was, or like what weird shape their body was. I mean, no shame, but I don't get their body. Because the sleeves are like really oddly short. I don't know, not quite sure what's going on there. but I don't think that matters too much. I have worn this before. I've worn it with like black belt, black boots, black hat, to make it a bit more day weary. Anyway, there we go. So that one's not quite like the others, but a very, very beautiful dress nonetheless. Then finally, I believe, oh no, oh wait, no, it's not finally, I've got another one. So the one before finally, we have got just the perfect dress. As soon as I saw this, I was like, I am wearing that for Easter. This is the perfect Easter dress, you cannot convince me otherwise. It's this beautiful 1970s floral maxi dress in very like bright greens and yellows and pinks. It's got a little belt as well. Literally I saw it, I was like, that's what I'm wearing for Easter. And then my family tried to not do anything for Easter, and I was like, you need to because I have the perfect dress. And then I got there and my sister was like, oh, you've got the perfect dress for Easter. And I was like, yes, I know, that's what I told Mum. So yes, this is the perfect dress. I did not get to frolic in the field, but oh well, I got to wear it. This is by Katie at Laura Phillips, who I have seen other dresses by them but don't really know too much about them. But come on, you can't tell me that's not the perfect springtime frolicking in a field dress, with like your wicker hat and wicker basket. It does have a hole right in the front, but I was thinking, because it has this fabric belt, I'm gonna like at some point, I have many dresses which I'm planning to do something with. It's at some point I'll like patch it to secure that, and otherwise it's in pretty amazing condition. And yeah, it's just like the perfect frolicking dress. Beautiful. It's one of those things that's so very 1970s, but also it's kind of timeless, I think. I like to think anyway. But yeah, there we go, my perfect Easter dress. Then another 1970s green long dress. This one is very much in the kind of hippie boho vibe. This is very much like the Beatles have just come back from India and I want to get in on it. Or like, was it George Harris? Who was it that was living in Marrakesh? Was it Jackie O's sister? Somebody was in Marrakesh in the 60s and they did lots of like caftans and stuff. Somebody. Anyway, this is like a really beautiful, what I like most about this one is the length of it actually. It's got a really beautiful fall and drape. This is just a fairly sheer caftan, and it's not quite a paisley print. It's this kind of Indian oriental inspired generic 70s print in shades of green and purple and orange, very 70s. It's got little buttons up the front. I personally prefer to wear it with like a big belt and like open. I feel like loads of jewellery, big belt, big sunglasses. I feel like all these dresses need big accessories, you know? But this will be really nice when it actually finally gets really hot here to just like waft about. And like I said, I really like the length of this one. The way they've made it, there's like a, it looks like it's just a big square of fabric, but it's not. They have actually tailored it. So down the back, it's kind of stitched together, but then at one point it like splits open a bit. So it means that in the back you get like a train, like not a proper massive beefy train like the peach confection, but just like a subtle extra bit of drape down the back into the skirt. And it's also got lovely shaped sleeves. You know, I like a little funky sleeve. So very, again, of its period, but something you can definitely make very wearable, I think anyway. So it's another 1970s beautiful maxi dress. So that is everything I'm going to show you on this particular occasion. I have bought lots of other stuff since I last did one of these videos, both from Emmaus and also from other charity shops, because I go everywhere all the time. It literally got to the point where I had to reorganise my dressing room and put up shelves for my handbags, and now all of my clothes are, well, not all of them because I have too many, but they're all in like boxes so I can actually see what I've got. But that's been a bit of a project as well. And yes, there's lots of other things that I have not shown you, so I guess I'll probably be back at some point. Well, at the same time I will carry on buying more stuff, so I'll just never catch up with myself. But that is my fault. Anyway, that was all of the kind of maxi dress, kind of more formal dresses that I bought. Let me know what your favourite was. Have you bought any fantastic vintage stuff yourself? Let me know if there's anything that looked absolutely hideous. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions, and I will hopefully see you all again soon. Bye everyone!